Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Liferia, and today's guest is John Pezoulas, the co-founder of Ready Set Exec, an executive search firm that helps companies build high-performing teams. He has managed budgets of up to $25 million and teams of 300 people. But his own entrepreneurial journey started much more humbly. He bootstrapped his company without a cent in his pocket, all while navigating the chaos of raising three children, including twins. He's here to share the gritty reality of building a business with no safety net, the lessons learned from 15 years in the recruitment trenches, and how to balance ambition with family life. So, John, it's a pleasure to welcome you to FieldCraft. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate the intro.
All right, thank you very much. Let's dive in. So, John, you have a background managing massive P&Ls. So, but the story of starting a Ready Set Exec is completely different. So you mentioned bootstrapping the company without a single cent in your pocket. So can you take us back to the moment, that the most nerve-wracking moments of those early days? So what did it feel like to operate without financial safety net while raising a young family?
Yeah, so I mean, like me, as I'm sure many people have felt before, you get laid off from a job you've had, and then you're starting to think of, what to do next, right? And luckily, I was working with my now co-founder, Patrick. We were working together at our last venture, and we had already worked together for a year. And so when we were both laid off from our previous employer, we started to think what we should do, find another job. The idea of starting our own company came up. Our main concern was, yeah, we're broke. We're living on credit cards right now and unemployment insurance. That's literally where we were at. So I guess we were just, it was honestly just a crazy thought. We said, let's just do it. We were determined to provide for our families. My other co-founder as well has also three children, so 6 mouths to feed between the two of us. So we literally started with our credit card. There was no money in our bank. It was on the credit card. We threw it on to pay for the website, register the corporation, initial outlay of tech stack that we needed. We obviously, with the bootstrap budget, we signed up for the minimal stuff we needed just to be able to conduct business. And yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough. The first year was absolutely terrifying, because you're worried about the bills that don't stop. Just because you start a company doesn't mean your mortgage gets paid or anything. You're worried about the viability of this new business, and then of course your self doubts, right? The doubts that you have for yourself of, can we do this? Are we going to be able to make it? It's a lot of stress. It's not for everybody, for sure. So that's the feelings of terror and fear that you have. You have to overcome those. And, to me, I say that because I had my co-founder, that's really, we leaned on each other a lot in those early days.
All
So
right,
couldn't have done it without him, and vice versa. Yeah.
great. So, John, how did that pressure, from the early days forge the resilience that you have today?
I think it, like, my resilience was not built that August when we decided to start the company. The resilience has been over my lifetime. Resilience is something, it's like a muscle. You have to work it out. Unfortunately, the harder life is, the stronger you get. So I've always had a lot of setbacks in my life, personal, professional, and so on. I had lost my father when I was 20 years old. I've had 4 or 5 layoffs in my career. So every time you lose your job, that's a stressor. What do you do next, right? I had lost my job one time when I had the birth of my first daughter. Right when she was born, I lost my job. When we had the twins, I lost my job during that time as well, when they were, only a few years old. So, you know, a lot of these things will test your character and test your mettle for sure. So I can't say that it was one thing. I think it's a like with everyone has their own story, right? And in everybody's story, there's things that test you. And I think each of those tests, how you come out of them is what will build that resilience and tenacity. For me, I also took from the knowledge and learnings from my dad, where he was a very tenacious person, very resilient. He had gone through a lot, you know. He grew up. So whenever I say I had it hard, my dad grew up during the German occupation in Greece, during World War II. So it's like I can't say I had it that bad, like so. But hearing those stories from him, it inspired us as well. Growing up, me and my siblings, in terms of how to behave and how to be and keep moving forward through life. So I like to think it's a variety of things, right? And also obviously also having a lot of family support. That's one thing I'll say as well is you can be resilient, but you need support structures. Everyone needs their community. And I have a very close, strong family that I've been able to rely on, and also very good friends, very good friendships that have helped me along my whole life. So without that support structure, I don't think I would have been able to be as strong, let's say, or be able to, not go crazy by now. Yeah.
All right. So, raising twins while launching a bootstrapped business sounds like a great deal. So, was there a specific moment where, the balance failed and you got stressed or burned out? And if so, how did you recover from that?
Yeah, what I tell everybody is if you can raise twins, you could do anything because it is a lot of work the first 3 years. Everyone thinks it's so fun. Oh, let's have twins. It's so great. And no. It is literally like going to boot camp for 3 years. The first 3 years, you're at boot camp. You go by their schedule when they eat, when they sleep, when they poop. It's like a boot camp for yourself. No sleep, 18-hour days. So what I would say is, yes, you have to balance. And the way I've been able to balance it, and I stress this is a big part of it, is having support structures, having family and friends, of course, also being able to work remotely. And so now with my schedule with the business, I put my schedule of work around my children's schedule and not work my children around my work schedule, if that makes sense. So, for example, I drop off the kids to school in the morning, then I'm going to my first meeting at 10 a.m., right? And then I work until school finishes, pick them up. When I come back, I then work in the evenings and if I need to on the weekends as well. So I work my schedule around my children's schedule. And I could do that because one, it's I run the business, which is good. There's some perks into being a boss, I guess, but also that I'm remotely. And so being remote, I don't have to be traveling to an office and spending time commuting. And I think remote work is essential if you're raising kids. And if you're trying to run a business and raise kids, it's the only way to do it. I can only imagine the kind of difficulty I would have if I had to be in an office for 10 hours, you know? So I think that's also helped a great deal is having that flexibility, being able to say, okay, all the admin tasks we have, I can do the admin work in the evenings. I can do the admin work on the weekends. It doesn't have to be during work hours. What has to be done during work hours is face-to-face meetings with candidates and clients, right? Because those are during business hours typically when you meet people. So that's kind of how I've structured my work. Like during the holidays, for example, this year, that's when we're going to be creating content and we're going to be making social media postings for the next year, right? Because that's an admin function, which we can do whenever we want. There's no time frame of when you do admin. Doing our year-end books, we're going to be doing that during the holidays. So it's just really being systematic about when you work, how you work, and moving your work around because you don't live to work, you work to be able to live, right? And I think that's important. Not to say that I don't work a lot of hours, I do, but when I feel like it. And that's a big point. I think it's important.
All right. So, in in 15 years of recruiting, John, I think you've seen it all. So what's like the single biggest hiring failure that you've witnessed companies make that consistently derails their growth?
Derails the recruit. I mean, I think there's always like major problems. I can speak to a few of them. I wouldn't say it's one particular thing, but it could be, here's some basic ones I would say. One is not onboarding the new recruit properly. They bring someone on, but they don't onboard them properly. There's no plan for them. There's no training for them. There's no rolling out the red carpet for the person to make them feel welcome. Like, the onboarding is a huge part of retention, whether you keep your employee for a year or not. One of our strengths with our company is we have a 95% retention when we place somebody. And the reason it's so high is we take the time to help with onboarding, make sure everything's done properly. So onboarding is a big part. Another one is, you know, not being aligned on what the role is, the expectations, what's their 90-day plan for the new hire you're making, what is their 3-year plan, what is the expectations, do you have metrics and KPI around what they're going to be doing when you hire this person? It has to be transparent. You have to be transparent what the expectations are, and then are you paying enough for what you're expecting? Because I think a loss of expectations on either side, the candidate or the client company, is where you have problems, right? We see this in marketing a lot. You bring on a marketer, you expect the world. They're going to come and change the world for you and make everything better, but you got to have the budget, you got to have a plan, and are you aligned with the CEO and the new marketer, right? So a lot of these misalignments happen because when you're hiring executives, for example, they're a leader and you have to allow them to be a leader and lead, and they have to have a clear idea of what they're doing. So that's another big one. So of course there's many more problems. I think, alignment, not onboarding properly, and maybe the final one I'll say is not knowing what they want. I think a lot of times they go and start hiring a position and they don't really know what they want to hire. They kind of change their minds all the time, and they sometimes make the wrong hire because they don't even know what they want for the person to be doing, and so on. So, like, a lot of these things can happen. A lot of managers too don't know how to interview at all. They have no idea how to interview people or bring someone on board to their company, and they fumble a good candidate because they really don't have the skill set to interview or recruit somebody. We try to work with our clients to help them learn how to work with people, how to hire people, how to onboard. There's a lot involved in this at the high level, and yeah, there's a lot of problems. I mean, I would say most clients that are hiring us, there is some form of dysfunction usually in the hiring process. That's why they're having such a hard time recruiting and hiring. And so we have to identify these problems and try to work with them to improve that if you can.
All right. So, you have worked with candidates who are, who are in transition or facing rejection. So, what, in your opinion, separates the executives who turn a career setbacks into a bigger opportunity and those who stay stuck?
Yeah, I think self-pity is a big thing. Self-pity, self-doubt is the worst. We say a bird will come and land on your head. Don't let it make a nest. Because once it makes a nest in your head, that's all you think about is you dwell on these negative emotions and feelings. Like when you lose your job, it's a really negative impact on you. You felt you're doing so well, and then you lost your job, and then you question your identity because you have your identity tied to your job, right? I'm the boss of this business. That's my identity. I'm the boss, right? And then you lose that position and you feel, who am I? I'm just some guy now that's unemployed and broke. So when you have an ego and you're not able to be humble, that's a problem. You need to be the world will humble you. So how do you deal when you're humbled? You know? So I think uh, not letting self-pity get in your head, no one feels like, just keep moving forward. Don't let these negative self-doubt thoughts come into your brain. Remember where you were successful and how good you are. Just because you lost your job doesn't mean you suck. Doesn't mean you're not employable, right? You got to get your head out of that negative mindset and then lose the ego of, everything that you have in your, try to maybe self-assess, like, your identity is more than your job, right? Your identity is that you're a good person and you're worth something, and you have your family and everything else that's in the world. So I think we often can get into that negative mindset very easily. You get depressed. And so what I tell everybody is, you lose your job, Go to the gym. Do things that's going to make you feel better about yourself, and don't let negativity get into your brain, because the bird will make a nest and you will that's a problem, and it grows to become a bigger problem. And then when you finally do get an interview, you don't have that confidence. And so having confidence going into the interview is important as well, right? To get the next job that you want. So that's some advice I would say. Self-doubt, self-pity, lose the ego. Yeah.
All right, really, really great piece of advice. John, for the entrepreneur listening right now who is trying to build something from scratch with no money in their pocket and feels the weight of that risk. So, what's the first practical step you would advise them to take today to start building momentum?
I think if you're a new entrepreneur, and it depends on what stage they're at and level of experience, right? But well, I'll just say in general, surround yourself with people that can give you advice, mentors and support, community. There's a lot of communities for startups and entrepreneurs out there. Find a community you can be a part of. And just through that, you're going to get so much free advice and free help and support, mental support as well. You need that. Everyone needs that level of the support systems, because if you plan on just going into a garage and working on your new business without any talking to anyone, you're going to be stuck in your head. So I think getting diverse opinions about your business, about the viability, things like that, really important. I would talk to business leaders all the time about our business. What do you think we should do? What do you suggest? Give me some ideas. Like, people are always there to help and support. Maybe even pay for a mentor if you need to, an executive coach. There are coaches for entrepreneurs out there, right? Or join a networking group where they have, for startups. I'd say find that support system. That's number one. Regardless of what kind of entrepreneur you are, you need a community around you. So find your community out there. If you're in tech, there's tech communities, there's VC groups. I mean, on Slack, for example, you can find lots of free communities to join. Reddit as well. So I'd say reach out and check out those networking groups, and get involved, talk to people. You'll meet other people just like you doing the same kind of business, and then you can talk about your problems and find a partner that you can work with. So I think that's key for sure, as a general kind of advice. Right now, depending on different businesses, there's different things you need to think about, but cash flow is king. We always say sales solves everything. Right? The more revenue you have, the better everything goes. So, build a community and build your sales. That's number one. And then keep your costs and your burn rate to a minimum. That's, generic advice, I would say. Yeah.
Great piece of advice here. Thank you very much for sharing. So, John, after managing huge teams and building your own firm from nothing and raising a family, I'd like to know, what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Yeah. I mean, I thought originally it was funny. I had a dream, and I'll tell you the dream. It's kind of funny. I thought successful was is making a lot of money. That was
Mm,
my initial, when I was younger. When I was younger, I was like, oh, I want to be a millionaire by 30 years old. That was I want to do it. And then I had a bad dream where I was driving a Lambo. Because that's a success in your mind. Oh, driving a Lambo, I'm gonna be rich. Drive a Lambo. I had a dream where I was picking up my daughter from school with a Lambo, and I wanted to show off. And then I drove the Lambo onto, the speed bumps on the road.
yeah.
And I got stuck on the speed bump with the Lambo, and it was stuck, and it was teetering, and it was so embarrassing, and the tow truck had to come and pick me up. This was all in my dream. And the reason I say the dream is that the things you think are important are not important. Who cares about the Lambo? It's a material good. It means nothing. That's just ego talking. It's bullshit, it's nothing. Yeah. What matters is family, the friends and relationships around you, and the journey you take. So what I can say is right now, and with the business over the last 3 years, the journey we've had, that experience has been so fulfilling for me. The most fulfilling thing I've ever done besides my kids, I would say, and it's fulfilling because I enjoy what I do every day. I love coming to work. I love my team and the people I work with, and my business partner that I work with, people that I can trust. that experience is huge. So success to me is relationships and family. I think that is what success is. And now, of course, there's the benefits of all that. Having money, of course, is great. Being more comfortable, less stress, that is great as well. And that comes with building the business in the long term. But I think when you look back, the success you'll feel is, yeah, I had some really good friendships. I had an incredible journey and I enjoyed what I was doing every day. Because for me, it's always the next challenge, right? If we make 100 grand, then the next year I want to make 500 grand. Then I want to make 1 million. I'll never be satisfied with that. I know that because I always want more. I just want to achieve better and continuously improve. So, but what I do enjoy is the journey of that because there's no end goal. I think it's just being able to grow your business, be happy with what you're doing, feel proud of what you're doing, and do honest business as well, where you look in the mirror and you say, okay, I like who I see in the mirror. I'm not feeling like I did something shady or something. I think that's important. So when you say what's success, I'd say it's enjoying the journey you're on and building good relationships along the way, because that's what you're going to remember when you're old is your friendships, your family, and the people around you. The money comes and goes for everybody. And if you're foolish, you burn your money very quickly anyway. So, um, you know, yeah, so that's what I would say now. It's a little different answer that I would give you at 25. If you asked me what it's at 25, I said, oh, I want to
Yeah,
make millions. That's success. Be millions like Wolf on Wall Street.
yeah.
That's what I would have said at 25. So yeah, no, now after that, I can say no. Being comfortable obviously is important for sure as well.
Great. Really, really interesting one there, John. So, finally, for our listeners who want to learn more about you, your work, or go check out Ready Set Exec. So, where is the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I always steer everybody just to our website, because on the website, you can find me on LinkedIn through there. You can find our podcast that's on every Friday. You can find a lot of free advice for people looking for career and job help. We have YouTube videos and everything. So readysetexec.com is the main hub. And check out the insights on there, and lots of free stuff for people to get to know us, but also help you with your career if you're an executive or wanting to become an executive one day. Check it out.
Awesome. So, it's been such a really valuable conversation, John, and I am truly excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks for the great interview.